Alright, welcome back to tonight's sad reality. Is MS Paint a game? I don't think it is, but it has controls. It's like mostly a mouse game, you know how it is. Um, and tonight I've got a bit of an interesting talk. I like math, so we're going to talk math for a little bit, because I think it's a really interesting way of explaining a bit of a story. So, in math, these things are equal. X equals X, right? That's pretty fancy and all. 1 equals 1, 0 equals 0. Very basic things of math, right? Now, where things get a little bit funny is when you take something that's equal and then you're like, okay, well, let's figure out what it actually is, right? For example, x equals 1. What is x? X is 1, right? But what about this? Is x equal to x plus 1? No, it can't be, because this is this, and it's not one more than this, right? So it's not equal. What I'm talking about today is where you kind of blur some lines or you make some things that are like, this is a bit of an interesting thought. Like, let's take another example that I think's really dumb. It's like, okay, x equals x, right? But what if this one's like a really big x? What if it's like a huge x? Are these two the same thing? I don't know. It's a really dumb idea, right? Like, I don't know. 1 equals 1, right? Or what if it was like a really cool one, like a really fancy one? Like, that's not what I'm looking to. It was like a hyper realistic 4K one that I probably should have had copied on my clipboard, but I didn't think of doing. But imagine this is, a really cool one. I'm also doing this all with a mouse, so it's going to suck. MS Paint's a game, by the way. Hopefully we can get that in the gaming tab on YouTube. That'd be pretty epic. But for tonight's sad reality, got a bit of a story to go along with the math here, right? That's when you take two people that are in the exact same position. So, two people that work in retail. This is me. This is my manager. And these are two drawings that are kind of the same. They're both stick people, but they're not exactly the same person, right? This is me. This is not me. Welcome back to Storytime Animation, by the way. 11:46 p.m. You can't see it because I've got that cropped out because I actually took some time to configure my OBS slightly. And at least the bitrate won't die on this video for once. But so between yesterday's video and today's video, between Bad Review Guy and here, one of my managers did something really dumb, right? So our store is shaped like this. This is a countertop. This is the front end, so these are the registers over here, and customers and their shopping carts and all things, and the door's out this way, right? But now there's also some front doors over here. It's like a set of double doors. And you just like walk in, and my manager was sitting over here, and I'm sitting by the registers doing my job. And I'm not going to talk about the robbery. That was a whole other thing, and that was forever ago. But sometimes my manager comes over to the registers and work registers, right? And I say manager, I don't really know what the right word is because it's like kind of but not really, but you know. And well, he goes to sell it. He does a commission sale, right? So we have this thing. It's a mini booklet of sorts, and it's gonna look like a really bad pamphlet. And on it, this is a no sweat protection plan. I love Dick's Sporting Goods, by the way. I might make a video just talking about my minor complaints with things, but for what it's worth, it's a good company, all that. And it's like, wow, this is identifying information. This is the company I work for, you know? He goes to sell it, and what he says to the customer is blatantly incorrect. And that sucks. The goal with this nice tiny brochure that, you can give to people is, oh hey, you see this and you're like, man, I've got this soccer ball, right? And it's gonna be all gross and dirty because my child vomited all over it. And I don't want it anymore. So the store takes it back. That's a store, that's a square. Cash register thing, counter, I don't know, person behind it, green shirt guy. That's a green shirt. Oh my gosh. Non-artist does art or something. Green shirt guy. We take ball back because that's easy. But that's not how this works. Red X, bad. No, no bueno. The way it's supposed to work is they go through an insurance company, and everyone loves insurance That's a bad smiley face. Everyone loves insurance companies. They're so awesome, aren't they? Um, Now, I'm not going to give my opinion on this plan, but would I buy it personally? Probably not. Anyways, so he goes and he sells it, and he's like, yeah, just bring it back in the store and do that. And now I've talked with my managers, I've talked with so many people about this, and we're not supposed to do that, right? And so we have this funny thing, it's called a zero. That's kind of an N, it's more like this, it's like longer like this, and it holds clothes on it. So it's like got one rack here, and then maybe like another rack here, and like a knob on the end. You put clearance stuff over here. You just put clothes on it, right? And I wish I had clothes to draw on it. Maybe like a red shirt and a blue shirt and like a pair of pants. I don't know. Um, and this manager, I'm like, well, he doesn't really censor the things. Like we have these things called ink and paddle. This is fairly well known. It's not like these are store secrets or anything. Just to clarify, this is very fine to put on the internet, and I think it's a funny story that has a decent resolution, so I don't mean to defame anyone in saying any of these things. But this has a warning on it. And it says, warn. The clothing has been worn. A warn. A warn. Q? Warn. There we go. Now, is this, and then there's like this thing that comes out behind it. Look at this. The art's getting better as I do it, right? And this goes on the pair of pants. This spray pair of pants, I don't know. Pair of pants. Wow. This is a weird looking pair of pants. Oh my gosh. It is an insanely long waist and really thin legs. This is made by an absolute child, by the way. This is produced by an 8-year-old on the internet. And, so we're supposed to put these tags on clothes, so that way people don't steal them and they trip the alarms, and we're like, hey, maybe don't do that. Do we actually do anything about theft? No. Because no stores ever do that because it's a risk for public PR. And I'm like, the only risk to PR is the fact that we don't kick thieves out or do anything about it because we just let people roam free and do whatever the hell they want. Language, I guess, but, you know. So he doesn't do that, and that's part of his job, you know. When we take back shoe boxes, random, inconspicuous box that is very much box. I'm gonna draw a 3D box. This is high quality production here, right? And, we're gonna do the product placement, I guess. We're gonna call this, nice. It's like a nice thing of shoes, but maybe this C is a K. It's like, nice shoes, you know? Um, okay. So, sometimes the shoes inside, people like wear them or whatever, and you're not supposed to do that and then return them to us. There's a 30-day, kind of a 90-day. There's a return window. It's supposed to be 90 days, but I've also heard 30 days from some of my coworkers, and we suck at any sort of rules or policy. But to be fair, we're still better than just about any other store, according to even other stores that I've heard. Sometimes people have their children vomit all over the shoes, or whatever, and the shoes are not returnable. We don't like, oh, that's not it. That's not the right button. We can't return those if people do that. Now, if people bring them back and they've worn them for like a week or two, or they're like, hey, they didn't fit, but I took them to the softball game anyways, and now I wasn't supposed to use them, but like, what was the kid supposed to do? And like, you know, we're not supposed to take them back because it's used products, that hurts the store, and you don't want the next customer getting those. Like, think about it. You're returning something, one of two things happens. Either it gets thrown away, or it goes back to the next customer. So, you being someone who shops with any store, just consider that for your fellow brother, sister, man, woman, child, he, she, Zer, you know, for consideration, right? Don't return things like that. Please, thank you. I love everyone equally and hate a lot of customers. About 80 or 90% of the people that walk in the store. Now, that's a thing that happens, and that's probably this one manager by himself. Let's do a nice guesstimate. This hurts the store about $1,000, probably every week. And I'm like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that. You know, maybe that's a bad idea, especially when these things get, potentially put back, potentially get shipped out to other customers, or just thrown away, and it's just, like, not good business, just letting people run all over you. We're supposed to have a spine, a backbone, and be leaders, especially if we're in a management position, right? Um, the world will try to walk all over you. You can't really let that happen. Now, there are times to listen to people, and there's times to not do that, and, well, you gotta listen to that, and you gotta listen when other people say, hey, let's not do that, you know? But so I talked with him. He's standing over here. His drawings are getting worse and worse. He looks kind of like, just like the breast cancer awareness thing now. And I'm standing over here, and I was like, hey, bud, um, maybe, like, let's not do that, right? And he's like, angry, anger, fist of rage. There's no actual. This is over dramatized for effect. And he's like, I know what I said. I didn't falsely advertise the plan that I mentioned earlier. Um, the shoes that he's returning, he's like, I'm sure they're in good condition and all this, even though we took 3 back the other week that were mismatches. Now, when we check the shoe boxes, let's get our nice box back here, That's the wrong tool. I'm a genius, by the way. When we get our shoes back, or when we sell them in the first place, with our nice box, we're supposed to open them and be like, okay, this is that's not, shoe. This is a size 11, and then up, left and right, this is also a size 11. If one is a 10 and a half, that's not this. These two things aren't equal, right? And that's no bueno, and then we can't sell that because it's a mismatch. That's how it is. If there's 2 different shoes, if there's 2 different sizes, if there's 2 lefts, 2 right, we can't do that. We took back 3 the other week, and they all had his name on the receipt, as like he was the one to help them with that, and clearly he didn't check any of these, and he was like, oh, I'm sure I checked the boxes, Whatever. Sour milk. Sayings, glittering words, generalities. Clearly these things don't bother me. Now, it does bother me when I try to tell people about it, and then they're like, super defensive, and I know what I said to the customer, I know I check all these things, whatever. So, me and this other guy, rivalry, anger, anime, battle thing. He casts Fireball, I cast Time Stop. But, in actuality, we just go on our phones, and we're like, hey, let's text the boss man, and he's, he sent back to me? He sent back to me this. Zoop. Okay. Thanks, boss, by the way. Big fan of him. And I'm saying all this again, I don't hate anyone. I just think that maybe these stories are worth learning from, and this is my 2 cents on the internet. It's probably unwarranted, probably gonna get me in trouble later, and you know what, I'm fine with that, because there are far worse things out there than any of these things, or whatever else. But, yeah, so we both text him, and then Bossman is like, hey, yo, kiddos. I'm thinking like Sam's voice, like, hey, kid. But he takes us to this room in the back, the evil room, the funny room, and it goes into this kind of thing, this office-looking thing, and we got 3 chairs. We got chair 1, we got chair 2, we got there's actually a gray chair, I think, that got pulled in, if it was one of those, like, plastic ones, whatever. I know 3 of these were, like, these nice, comfy chairs. I don't know which one my boss was sitting on. Now, my boss is in this chair. He's like, hey, kids, you should, like, figure this out. And, it was a conversation that lasted a whole hour. I don't plan on making this video an hour. In fact, I've got 2 minutes before midnight before I lose that streak again. And, you know what I like about conversations and what I like about numbers and math? This only means so much as the person looking at it. It's like biblical verses of like, love thy neighbor. You're like, okay, well, yeah, but it's like, well, what does that really mean? What does it mean to love someone? What does it mean to do everything for them? Would you die for them? Who's the neighbor? Like, all these other things, you know? What, like, does this mean anything to anyone? I don't know. But the lines get kind of blurry when you add other factors in, like if it was a really cool one, you know? And here's kind of the way the conversation went. My manager is like, you know, you really should have came and talked to me about these things if you didn't feel, like, if you thought I was doing things right. I'm thinking, I tried, I did, I like everything I could have possibly did. I specifically didn't call him out over the radio because he was gassing himself up for selling a commission sale that I knew was deceptive. Um, and it's funny too because he'd gotten on my back for that stuff in the past, so I mentioned this in another video, and I'll just go ahead and say it flat out right. And this is probably super identifying information if you're a very specific person, but within the company as a whole, good old DSG, me, this is me now. I saw these things, these funny things, right? And if you know what this is, you're like, oh, that looks kind of like a credit card or like the MasterCard. Yeah, I saw these. I think at this point I've sold about 440, 450 maybe. I kind of lost track. I've been working here for about a year, a little less actually, and I'm already the number 4, numero 4 in the company. Wow, so cool. Gold star, I guess. And that's cool and all. But let's go back to earlier. 1 equals 1. Okay, well, this is a very cool one. Does that mean I get an exception because maybe this one sold 424 credit cards? I don't know. Is this one, like, he's been working here, like, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 years, 3 to 4 years or something, or he's in a leadership position, he's been there for a while. Admittedly, his work ethic's kind of, not great according to everyone else, and it seems like he skips out on a lot of stuff. But how do you equate 1 and 1? These are both employees. What do you do? And my boss was like, "Hey, so," because Wes, well, I should say his name, but I already said it. Wes and I talked about stuff for probably about 10-15 minutes. My boss was like, "Hey, this is, hey kids, uh, hey Peter, it's not really going anywhere, right? The conversation." And so he's like, a team is kind of a few things. It's a sum of its parts, you know? Instead of looking at the equation like this, we could look at it like this. You know? And this is how people are used to doing math. This makes a lot more sense to people intuitively when they think about it, because this means more than this does. I mean, sure, there's like transitive property and all these other things in math, but people look at 1 plus 1 equals 2, and people don't really think of 1 equals 1. You know? And that's kind of one of those weird things where, like, I like math. I like all these small things. I like the Bible. I like people. I also hate people. I hate a lot of things. I like a lot of things. I hate a lot of things. And welcome to being 21. You don't really understand much, and you're thrown into a world where sometimes these ones are x's and y's and differentials, and we're doing an upside down derivative now. Negative, positive infinity, negative infinity. It's backwards today. Differential calculus, I suppose. That's life, you know? But, a team is the sum of its parts. And if you take a lot of people, 1 plus 1 plus 1, etc., is whatever you want it to be. You know? What point do you stop? That's called a summation, right? Which I guess is kind of this funny thing. No, I'm not really a math guy. I mean, I kind of was. Did up to Calc 4 or whatever. And I'm not going to be explaining this super formally. I don't really plan on taking this in a math way either. But the conversation ended with him saying, hey, if you're in a leadership position, you gotta step it up. And I know you have 400 cards, but, you know, you gotta find some way to say, hey, look, 400 equals 1. You know, you're just a guy. Humble yourself, you know. And it wasn't really so much about that. I think he did let a lot of things slide, and truth be told, I had been kind of petty with all those things that I'm like, hey, we're not following policy, and I kept trying to tell him and tell him and tell him, but it got to a point where I was like, he was giving his dirty work to me to do. Like, if he would return a pair of shoes, it would be like, hey, you're gonna damage tag these. And I'm like, really? I'm putting my name on something that you just did? So I started writing his name on those and like, hey, thanks, comma, coworker's name. Because it was just at a point that was pissing me off, and then he got pissed off that I did that, and I'm like, let's think for a bit. Why in the world would a nice box of shoes that's all beat up and gross have a funny tag on it that says coworker's name on it, right? And not like my name. Well, it's on the back technically. It's like two sides of it. There's the front side and there's the back side, and you know, why is that, right? And I guess that was cool and all. Here's my opinion as someone who's lived for a while. I don't think one conversation fixes people. What I see in him is the following. N is for narcissism. Gosh, where do I want to go with this? I think it was narcissism. He admitted to this one. Jealousy. Um, and in his own words, I told him, I'm like, hey, I feel like you're kind of jealous of all these things that I've been able to do, even though I haven't been here as long. And in his own words, to use the language, and YouTube's gonna be like, oh no. He was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm super jealous of that. I don't know how you have that performance, and you're here now. I said, hey, thank you for being honest with that, and we kind of move on. I might just do blank screen for the rest of this. I don't know. But he's got his problems. I don't think one conversation is going to fix it. He's 20. I am 21. We are both youngins, babies, as my boss said. My boss he's about to turn 50. He's big old 50. That's like not even the sum of these two things, right? But I don't think one conversation's ever fixed someone. And the thing about patterns, that's one of the cool things about math as well. You do 1 plus 1 onwards. Therefore, is it this one? Whatever. Patterns manifest themselves and they become something that you're going to recognize a lot. There's countably infinite sums, there's uncountable infinite sums, and different ways of looking at things. Like the really famous one, I think, was diagonalization, was a proof where it was basically take sets of letters and try to match them up together, and is this a countably infinite set or uncountably? And if you go on a list and keep changing one letter, like along the diagonal of like, say I've got these 3 in a set, and say the set's infinite. Well, if I start the first letter with a B, the second letter with also a B, and the third letter, so these. Okay, well this is already a new entry and I haven't even gotten to the 4th letter yet. I mean, obviously I didn't start any of these with B, but that's kind of your short proof for diagonalization. Point is, patterns manifest, right? People don't exactly change after one conversation, leave that. And going to work tomorrow, I'm like, I have no idea what to expect. Will it be the same? Will it be different? Will he suck up to my boss? Will he lie? Will he do other things? Because I think my boss did catch on to some things, and he was like, hey, you should be a little more specific, because it seems like you're overgeneralizing things, and yeah, so that was fun. Not really. Last night I didn't really sleep too much in my Minecraft that I'm about to draw, because that's a funny thing to draw. I didn't really sleep too much. No, I can't see this because it's white. Amazing. Minecraft bed, I guess. I didn't really sleep too much because I've been thinking about this, because I think confrontation's important, but at the exact same time, how do we confront someone that isn't able to confront themselves or lives in denial with their own ability, work ethic, or whatever else? The answer is you don't. You don't fix it. And what I've learned with YouTube is, well, teams are great, but nothing gold can stay. Robert Frost said that once. And well, if people don't have work ethic, then they're probably never going to see it. And then they keep asking to work on YouTube, and it's not really going to work. And then you're going to be like, hey, where's the work ethic? And you know, you kind of make your way back to this and stuff kind of fails. But something I've got in store for a friend later, and I think it's important, is it's not the fall that makes the man, but it's how he gets up that does. You know, take a religious context, it's not Jesus' death that everyone looks back on. I mean, sure, that was important, but it was the resurrection, I think, that was just as important. When people think of tragedies, when people think of celebrities, when you think of good old Mr. Beast, and that's not the right tool. Mr. Beast, oh my gosh, look at this lightning bolt thing. It's Mr. Beast. He's got like the bat thing on like a tiger or a cat or something. I'm really tired. It's not going to be good stuff. I'm not an artist. Anything that's ever happened in life, it's not going to be the one or two things that take people down. It's going to be if they lose what makes them them, you know? And I hope I'm never defined by narcissism or other things. And I know I've got really bad thoughts in my head about my place in that, because if I am number 4 and I've been here like less than 1 year, what does that say about everyone else? You know? I mean, I don't want to be stuck here forever. Obviously, people want me around because of that performance. I mean, even my boss was like, dude, the district manager, he's riding on your back. Regional manager, like all these things. Like number 4, that is in the country, that is in our good old US of A. Like, you know, that's that. So where does this all fit in the big picture? I don't know. I wish I hadn't answered all these things. But that's kind of my 2 cents for tonight. I think it's important, a good story. I have just a good resolution to it, but I never expect change. When I asked my boss following all this, because he was like, hey, we done? You don't really look like you're satisfied with that. And I said, well, what keeps you going? You know, that's still the wrong tool. Mr. Almost 50-year-old's been here for, well, I know he worked at a Best Buy and he did store management there prior to this, but he's been doing this, I'm going to guess, at least 10 plus years, right? He's been doing store management for a while, and we both agree that there's a lot of times with customers. There's so many customers, thousands, millions even. I mean, I know in raw transactions that I've handled, it's in the like tens of thousands. There are some days I'll do 200 in one day. So it's not that hard to do the math on that. It's a lot, and it's not even including stuff that's online or other things, whatever. It's a lot. And not all these are good. Some of them are like not great, but what keeps this going? Why are you still here? Why do you have your gold star? And you said, if I didn't have a team, I would have quit a long time ago. You know, he would have been out the door and gone. And he's like, you know, they support my back much more than they should. Also, instead of 50, this kind of looks like so. Do la, so la, re mi, fa, so la, ti, do. And then think back to you, Tim. Like, who actually had my back? With friends or people who still think things are going. Who has your back in life? Kind of important, you know? And he wants to build a team where to bring everything back to itself. Still the wrong tool. He wants to build a team where 1 equals 1. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 makes something special. You know? Lopsided looking infinity. Really bad looking infinity. Slightly better looking infinity. There we go, kind of. So, I guess for consideration as to how you value your friends, your coworkers, anything else like that, try to have people's backs. And I can definitely do that for my manager, and I want to hold people accountable as well. But at the end of the day, just remember that we're not alone, and the sum of our parts will always be much greater than we are individually. So with all of that said, I think this is one of the videos I've been the happiest with, despite it probably also being one of the weirdest, saddest, maybe most controversial, whatever, videos I've made. So thanks for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your night, and I will see you probably tomorrow night. Hopefully, we're going to keep the streak alive and not past midnight. Have a fantastic rest of your night.